We are still joined by longtime football coach Rick Minter, who's also the father of Ravens' new head coach, Jesse Minter, as well. We're very appreciative of Rick's time. And Rick, kind of just to jump right back into it, you were talking a lot in the last segment about, Jesse's football upbringing and, you and kind of helping him get into the coaching field. And basically that, birthing this defensive philosophy and this defensive system that Jesse has been known for, that's gotten him the job that he's gotten now. How do you feel like that defensive scheme has evolved as the league evolves, especially on the offensive side of the ball, as the passing numbers are as high as they've ever been?
Well, I tell you what, schematically, the Ravens have been on the cutting edge. Just look at the Super Bowl coming up Sunday. Mike McDonald, the success he had both in college at Michigan and back with John again there with the Ravens, and now out to Seattle and in the Super Bowl in his second year. It's an unbelievable achievement. Mike and Jesse are good friends. I think perhaps the Ravens could look into the crystal ball and say, well, look what Mike's done. Jesse and Mike are very clone-oriented. That can be perhaps the level of success we could have with the Ravens right away. So I'm sure all that went into it. But like I said earlier, Jesse probably was influenced by my philosophy on defense, be it a 4-3, 34, all those types of things for the first 7-8 years of his career. But remember, I had John Harbaugh, as I had many guys on my staff at Cincinnati. Over 10 years, I had a lot of good guys. I really hired well, I thought, just like Coach Holtz did at Notre Dame. I hired John Harbaugh, Jerry Rossberg, Mike Tomlin, Rex Ryan, Don Martindale. All those guys worked for me at Cincinnati. And so it was those relationships that came into play years later in 2017 when I had gone to work with Jesse at Indiana State, now at Georgia State. All of a sudden, we're all without jobs and looking. And I did pick up the phone and call John, who's a dear friend, and I said, listen, you need to do what you can to get Jesse to the NFL. And it's so ironic, twist of fate, Jesse replaces John in Baltimore. But if you could just hear the conversation I had with John 9 years ago, I said, John, let me tell you this, Jesse is exactly like you. I mean, it's kind of prophetic, but it says, John, he is a great person. People attract to him. He got a great personality. He's very magnetic. People like to be around him. He's bright. He's articulate. He's a good-looking person, handles himself well, quick learner, quick study. Was I describing John or was I describing Jesse, right? It was all about the same. They brought him up for an interview and offered him a job. Once he gets in the door, he's on his own. He worked under Dean for 1 year there as kind of his little right hand. And then where the scheme was born was when Wink got promoted to D coordinators. You guys know all these stories. And Mike got moved to linebacker. Jesse got moved into the secondary. Chris Hewitt also played for me at Cincinnati. So there's a tremendous influence between Cincinnati, the Ravens, and Michigan, and all these other Minter Harbaugh connections now. But that's where the defensive philosophy that the Ravens still, execute under, Mike executes, Jesse executes, was born right there in 2018. John said, listen, we're going to name Wink, but we want to retool the defense. Let's get more modern. Let's get more streamlined. Let's get more contemporary. Here's my vision, and then you guys go to work. I mean, that's just what he instructed the defensive staff to do. And with Jesse, Mike, Wink, Chris, all of them, they put their heads together and came up with this package that they now employ there. And Mike took his version of it. Jesse has taken his version of it. Wink ran with it for 3 or 4 years there, took it to the Giants, ironically replaced Jesse at Michigan, had a level of success. So that package and that philosophy, I really do think is what's contemporary in pro football. Scoring on offense has come down slightly in the league. And I really believe it's because of people's willingness to play 2 high safeties. Vinny, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Play 2 high safeties, force you to run the ball, do some 2-gapping up front if you need to, and do some techniques there special to play in a light box and hang on in the run game. But you're inviting the quarterback to run the ball, trying to deny the throw, and keep roofs on top of the defense and coverage, eliminate the X plays. And you're looking at it with the Seahawks. I mean, Jesse led the league in scoring in 24 out here, his first year in the league as a coordinator. in scoring defense with the Chargers. Mike's done the same thing. He did it with the Ravens. He's doing it again. And it's just a fun thing to watch. And I've been a part of this, just growing with it myself. So my defensive influence, yes, for early on, but I've now probably learned more from him over the last, 4 to 5 years that I've been working with him. And knowing football, I really am tuned in now to this type of scheme that they're playing. And the quarterbacks around the league will tell you this Raven, Charger, Seahawk-type defense. And, of course, Weave did it down in Miami, now back with Baltimore. Denard did it over in Tennessee. So that package has been out there a little bit. Some more successful than others, but it's kind of on the cutting edge right now. It's got the sim pressures. It's got the way to double people. You can play a lot of zone, crank it down to play more man if you've got the skill level to do it. And we were a big zone team in L.A. And I just think that's because Jesse is smart enough to do what the players around him can do. Howie Roseman, a dear friend and a successful GM up there with the Eagles I worked with way back in 13-14, tried to hire Jesse 2 or 3 years ago. And then when they came out this year to play us, the Eagles versus the Chargers, he came up to Jesse. Of course, he was very, jokingly in a way saying, man, I should have hired your butt 3 years ago. We wouldn't be in the shape we're in. And but what Howie expressed to me, I thought was a great compliment to Jesse. He says, number one, you guys play more guys on defense than any roster in the NFL. Every guy, you carry 20, 21 guys into the game, and most every guy gets playing time. He says, secondly, you're not the most talented roster, so he's found a way to maximize the strengths of every one of the players, maybe minimize or develop the weaknesses, but try to find what a guy can do and let him do it and not try to do something you can't do. Did he want to play at times a little bit more man? Sure. But we also know that we had really, really good zone corners. Maybe that's not true with the Ravens. You got some number one sitting over there at corner, and that's what he's looking forward to. So he's kind of a chameleon. I mean, and that's not a negative. That's a positive. He adjusts and he adapts and he flows with what he knows can work with the parts around him.
Hey, Rick, let me ask you this, and the fans here would love to know this along with us. Odafe Oweh couldn't do squat here, couldn't get any sacks here. He goes out there and he gets, with the playoffs, 10 and a half, something like that. What was different?
Well, number one, the guy's motivated. Obviously, he's on a contract year. We know that part of it. But he was around Khalil Mack, who is a Hall of Famer for sure. He was around Thule, a rising star in the Charger family. Bud Dupree, an older veteran. So he was around some guys, just as he was with the Ravens, of course. But you can look at it then and say, well, it's motivation, it's contract time. We had a great young edge coach out here named Dylan Roney, does a nice job bringing out his skills. Jesse knew how to use his skills, knew what things to call that could accentuate that. So I think it's just an example of using the skill level. And the other thing, Ben, that's most important, it's not just that he had, and look at his number of production per play played. Because these other guys, Odafe didn't get a ton of reps. He might have played probably, 50% at most of the plays during that 7, 8, 9 games he was with us. And then the production, that last game alone against the would-be New England Patriots Super Bowl team, he had 3 sacks. And so he's got the skill level. I'm not sitting here trying to court him back. Well, maybe, but no. But that's an example, though, of what you're saying. How can a guy be so-so at one place and accentuate greatness at the other place? And I do think it's a credit to Jesse and the staff, and then, of course, Odafe himself. He was motivated. I guess when you get traded, there might be a little kick in the pants to say, hey, somebody didn't want me, I'm going to prove. I thought that was a trade that was good for both teams.
Correct.
I love Alohi Gilman, tremendous young man. As you guys have already seen in a short time yourselves. And Odafe's a good man. He is a great player. He gets up and talks in front of the team every now and then. He's a man of few words, but very powerful words. He's a great competitor, played at Penn State. But that's an example of using a guy's skills, both schematically within stunts and rushes and those types of things, and just freeing a guy up. I mean, once he got there, I was telling the D-line guys, I said, listen, let's just let this guy free rush and let the other guys around him clean it up. You kind of call those cover stunts and things like that, as long as you're together. Can't have him doing it independently, but as long as you're working together, you can do that. But he was fun to be around for the short amount of time we had him.
Hey, Rick, two questions real quick before we got to go. Number one, how did Jesse put his staff together? Number two, are you part of the staff coming out to Baltimore? Hopefully.
Yeah, I will have a role of some sort. It's not been announced or approved or anything of this nature, but I'm appreciative to Jess and the Ravens for trying to make it work. I want to be an asset to Jesse and the Ravens. I certainly don't want to be a shadow or a burden or, here's the head coach's dad walking around the building. I don't ever want to present myself that way. I just want to be one of the boys. I love the game. I'm a lifer. I would like to stay in the game and help and contribute any way I can. So however that works out, I'll be most appreciative, but nothing's final, nothing's announced. But I do think it's positive that I will have an opportunity to relocate out there to be a grandpa, a father, and then hopefully be on the staff and contribute any way I can.
That's good. Now, what about how did Jesse put his staff together? Because you mentioned college roommate, the kid from Navy. How did he get, I mean, we were both I think you were there when Chris Doyle was at Notre Dame, correct?
Yeah, I know Chris.
Yeah. And how did he get Declan and some of the other guys?
Well, he was very diligent about how he went about it with he and Eric, and he's trying to stay on the cutting edge. I think the first thing he probably thinks about on offense is what do we need to do to ignite Lamar, the best player on the planet, when he's right? When he's electric, he's dynamite. And so what move can he make to enhance that? Listen to him, involve him. And I think in this case, hiring a younger guy, perhaps, kind of a rising star, people could question that. I mean, dude, the guy's 30 years old.
Right.
I call these guys like McVay and Shanahan and Doyle, perhaps, and, maybe a Davis Webb down the road. I call them whiz kids. I mean, I'm freaking old, right? I call them whiz kids. They're like the high-tech generation guys, They're coming along at a clip and a pace much more accelerated than some of us. They see the game differently. And my vision and hope for Deck is that he is that way, that he can bring this vision of very openness and inclusiveness, putting together the run game and the pass game. And I think getting Lombardi around Deck was probably a comfort hire, somebody he's known and trusted now for years, kind of that mentorship. There'll be others. He's really high on the O-line coach from Atlanta, and we played Atlanta last year, right? So I've seen his work up front. They're one of the best running game combos and pass protectors. He was coached by a friend of mine down at East Carolina, so again, it's another connection. And PJ's going to be on board, college roommate, total ally, trustworthy. He had Mike Mickens at Indiana State years ago. He played at Cincinnati. Brian Kelly recruited him at Cincinnati, or D'Antonio did. I called Brian Kelly up when I got to know Mick much better and said, you need to get Mike Mickens to Notre Dame. And he did. He followed through, got him there. I got Chris O'Leary to Notre Dame from Florida Tech, who was a Jesse guy. And then now he's replacing Jesse. So all these things are kind of all connected and in the family. But I think Mick and PJ on the back end, and then of course Weave coming in on the coordinator, I think is a tremendous hire. He's a domer. Then that instantly gives credibility. I mean, I'm partial, but anybody that comes out of Notre Dame has just got, to me, the hardworking character, intelligence quotient working for him from the day he leaves campus. And he became a Raven, I believe, if I'm correct in playing. He's gotten into coaching. He's taken it and took it for a test drive in Miami. And I give Weave credit. I know he and Jesse had to make a deal or, make the deal to become coordinator. But I think, is making a great strategic move here. I mean, he went out and did it for 2 years as a coordinator. I know he wants to be a head coach and do his own program someday, as we all do. But he took a move that says, okay, I'll come into somewhere where Jesse Minter might call the defense, much like Mike is doing. But I'll learn from that. I'll tweak my own thoughts, and I'll pick up on him. He worked with Mike. Weave did. Got a coordinator job. Now he's got a chance to come back and be a coordinator. He'll man the room and do the practices. He'll do lots of things for Jesse. But then maybe Jess calls it on game day. I get that. But Weave steps aside, puts his ego at the door like Domers do, and says, okay, I can do this, and I'll come out of it the other end so much better and improved. I think that's a great strategic hire for him. I think it works for both parties, both for Jesse, for Weave, and the Ravens. And then there'll be other guys, whether it's the up front guy. I think a guy might be coming out of Michigan. Somebody
Esposito?
Somebody, Wink worked with him. So again, it's got a connection. So Esposito comes in already knowing the system to a degree because Wink had that system at Michigan. So it's just a lot of connections. And I'm not the one to release the names of all the staff that haven't been released, but it's getting closer and closer, and Jesse's happy with it. If you notice, a lot of it is college coaching, and we've said ourselves, so many times guys that come out of college, and we kind of had that kind of staff with Michigan and the Chargers, and it kind of proved its mettle. Great college teachers, Ben, as you know, are great teachers. They have to work the fundamentals. They don't assume anything. So many times if you're just an NFL guy and that's all you've done, you just assume things, that, hey, these guys are pro players, they are at the top of their game. And that's not true. Like Odafe, he comes in and everybody has these expectations. Why? He's a first-round draft pick. But that doesn't mean he's totally developed. And so college guys so many times can start at ground level and raise them and teach them techniques and fundamentals that they may or may not be receiving with some older, wise NFL D-line coaches or linebacker coaches, not demeaning them. But I just think college guys are great teachers, and that's what you have to do to have a great staff is because the Ravens are what? Draft and develop.
Yep.
How do you develop? You cannot develop without being teacher-oriented. Yeah. And technical, fundamental teaching oriented.
So, Rick, we got to roll right now. But hey, listen, Cordell, both of us, we're always out at the OTAs mini camps. So I'll see you, probably at the rookie camp right after. Yeah, rookie mini camp right after the draft. So I'll see you then, and I'll be looking forward to meeting your son. You'll have to introduce me.
I'll do it.
All right, thanks,
Rick. Really appreciate your time, man. Thanks,
Rick.
Appreciate
see you soon.